Hi guys, Greta G.H.Guitars again, another video, another song. This time we've got Greta Van Fleet. This came in as a request. The song is called When the Curtain Falls. I watched a very good guitar player, very much very in the style of Led Zeppelin, yeah, really sort of Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton-y sounding player. I watched their rig rundown video. Very good player, and the tone as well is fantastic, even from a oh, check it out, he's using a old Gibson SG, which is like literally falling apart where the control cavity is. It's a good video. Okay, so here's what we got with the song. Let's do a breakdown of this. Very start of the song, you might notice I played the chord before clicking it in. The chord comes in immediately into the song, and what we've got is we've got a G7 suspended chord. Now, some of what I've been doing with this would be I'm playing it, I'm strumming it fairly lightly. I've only got a medium kind of overdrive, which I'm sort of controlling off the volume control of the guitar itself. I've actually got two speakers set up. I've got a kind of high watty tone on one, and the other one's a little bit more Marshall-y, just to give me a little bit of contrast. So I set my rig up in stereo. But I found by backing off the volume and not having too much distortion, and again with your picking, if you don't hit the chords too hard, you can sort of go from too much mush with that. You get some of the I hope you can pick it up on the video at least. You get some of the definition, some of the clarity back. And that's our opening chord. It's a G7 suspended chord, a G7 bar chord. A regular G7 chord would look like that. So your normal G7 chord, just for the record, is going to go E string fret number 3, A string fret number 5, the D string, which is covered by your first finger barring all the way across fret number 3, D string is there on fret number 3, and this is the normal G7. Now we'd have the G on fret number 4, and then this bar continues to hold these last two notes down, both on fret number 3. Alright, so there's your normal G7. The chord that we've got, which is the same as the beginning chord, the first chord in Hard Day's Night, and it's also in Walking on the Moon by the Police as well, is this G7 suspended chord. So okay, string by string and fret by fret. Low E string fret number 3, A string fret number 5, D string covered by the bar on fret number 3, first finger barring off. You've got the G on fret number 5, right where the dot is, B string fret number 3, top E string fret number 3. Okay, don't hit it too hard, and all those notes will ring without the sort of distortion, descending into mush. Okay, now into the riff. There's a couple of guys doing, I mentioned this, a few people doing video tutorials of this. Check them out and draw your own conclusions as to what you think the riff is. I had to sit down and sort of watched how the guy was playing, watch the guy's playing style on this rig rundown thing, and I thought, there's a few different ways it can be interpreted. This is my interpretation of the riff. So it's breaking it into two parts and break those parts down. I've got a slide, D string I'm sliding from fret number 3 to fret number 5. I'm hitting 2 strings, I'm hitting the D string and the G. Next thing that happens is finger number 1 hits the G on fret number 3 and does a pull off. Now if you can do that and keep this other G note in place as well, it kind of fills out the sound. Next up we've got open G and the B string on fret number 3, which would be a D note. So if I put those two parts together for you slowly. It is possible to keep this G note here happening right throughout the, and then you're playing like a combination of notes and single notes and riffs and partial chords, and there's all sorts of stuff going on there. But okay, from here we go in top E string, fret number 1, B string, fret number 1. Then we go to the B string on fret number 3, which is a D note. Back to the B string, fret number 1. This would be an F chord. G string on fret number 3, which is a B flat, and an open G. Let's play it in its entirety. Play it over a couple of times slow for you. And there's your second half of the riff. The second half of the riff starts the same way as the first bit. So no real explanation needed there. Then we got to go bend on the G. So the G gets bent from fret number 5 to fret number 7. It's a very, very quick bend, fairly quick bend. Oh, I went slightly over there, sorry about that. Release back to fret number 3, so back to your B flat note again. Then we've got a D on, this bit kind of caught me out for a little while, couldn't quite work out what he was doing. D string, fret number 5, D string open, low G note. Okay, let's see if I can do all of the parts slowly. What I'm tempted to do with this is, what I can hear on it at least, unless it's a double track guitar part, I'm trying to cover chords and lead guitar parts all at the same time. Give it a go and see how we get on. Okay, so let's move up to the next section of the song, and this comes in at, let me track it forwards to 24 seconds. In fact, I could run this from the start. Okay, so what have we got going on with that? The chords that we've got, that at least that I can hear, my interpretation of it is as follows. I've got an F, 2-note power chord, double stop if you like. The F chord is happening on fret G, starting on G on fret number 5, and then we've got the B string on fret number 6. Only 2 notes. It looks like I'm hitting more notes. I know you can't see much of what my right hand is doing, but with the tip of my first finger is muting off the D string. Okay, and the underside of my third finger is muting off the top E string. So I can get these. I can take a few liberties as far as sort of strumming those chords are concerned. Now we know the shape. The shape then moves up by 2 frets. So instead of starting on fret 5 and 6, this shape slides up and you've got fret 7 and we've got fret 8. Okay, the next chord that we've got, just back my volume off a little bit, otherwise this this dominant 7 chord is fine with all the strumming going on. Sounds a little bit mushy. I guess that's the sort of the kind of feel they're going for. Okay, so this chord right here, it's a version of a C7 chord, and here's how we kind of get to that. C major would be here. If we take away your little finger, you get a C7 chord, and the note that we've introduced right there is a B flat. Okay, so the C disappears, becomes a B flat. I dare say that chord would work. I just don't think it's not quite what I can hear. Well, the other what I can hear is this going on here. Okay, now then, let's strip this chord down. Strip the C major down. Let's make it a triad. And what if we take the triad? So we take in the major chord like we did. There you go. Introduce a B flat into it. Let's reduce the major chord down to a triad. Introduce a B flat into it. This finger is now redundant. It doesn't matter whether that's on or not. I'm going to move the shape around a little bit, and this is what we end up with. So the dominant 7 chord that I'm using, this C7 chord shape, I've got my D string on fret number 10. That's finger 2. Finger number 1 is on the G on fret number 9, and my little finger, which I'm using for this, is the B flat note that we mentioned just a moment ago. So the B flat note is the B string fret number 11. That gives you a C dominant 7 chord, or a C7 chord in that position. Okay, so the second part of the chord riff, we've got F to the G again. Okay, now what do we got going on here? Okay, with this chord here, the notes in it would suggest a C7 suspended chord. C7 sus. A C7 chord in this position would look like that. To make it a C7 suspended chord, you take the B string, you raise the B string by a semitone, or you take this E note here and move it up to an F. And okay, I'm basing it on this idea that we've got in the chord itself, we've got a root note, C, and the 5th, which is this G note, and we got this F as well. But the sound of it, what's happening here is we're losing the root note, keeping the G, also keeping the open G, which would sort of make sense based on what the opening riff did. Just by sort of taking away this root note, we're suggesting a C7 suspended chord. Then this the F note drags back to an E and ends up being the notes of G, G, and an E. I'm sure there'll be somebody out there who will actually say, oh, actually it's this, it's that, it's something else. My interpretation of it from the music theory that I was taught, those intervals would suggest that it leans towards a C7 suspended chord down to a C7 chord. So break that part down for you. Which keeps repeating. Have a listen to it. You figure out how many times it repeats. Then towards the end of the riff, at the end of that, the chord section, and then we've got back to a single note riff, which then leads into the chorus section. So let's break that part down there. This happens at around 43 seconds, 44 seconds into the song. Okay, so the notes in it are as follows. We're playing an open D string fret 3, D string fret 5, G on fret number 3, B flat, back to the D string fret number 5, G on fret number 5, D on fret number 5, G on fret number 3, D on fret number 5. So we're using what's called a pedal tone riff. A lot of notes are coming back to this this G note. One other way of doing it. You can go open, fret 3, fret 5 on a D string, 3 and open on a G, 5 and open on a G, 3 and open on a G again. I kind of prefer the first way because it sort of forces you to do alternate picking as well. You got to alternate pick back and forth between the D string and the G. Hammer on there, but the rest of it then is alternate picking back and forth. And again, if you're doing an alternate picking riff, I would think which direction of travel you're going to start off with. Don't sort of metaphorically paint yourself into a corner and realize the next stroke needs to be a downstroke when you've just finished doing an upstroke, and vice versa. Have a play around with it and see what happens. Okay, so if I drag this section back to, let's say, just before 24 seconds, and we can play through it. Okay, slightly out of time. Apologies for that. Let's move on to the next part of the song. The chorus. What have we got for the chorus? Okay, let's play through the chorus, and I can break it down. So this part comes in around 45 seconds into the song. Let's drag that back there to just before. And I'll show you which chords that I'm using for this. we've got a G to start off with. The G chord that I'll be playing, the notes of this G power chord will be D string fret number 5, that's your G note. I'm going to play a G open as well to fill things out a little bit. I've got the top E string on fret number 3, B string on fret number 3, top E string on fret number 3 as well. It just gives it a bit more clarity than your... That works as well. I'm sure that'll be double tracked on the recording. So the next chord I've got, by the sounds of it, listening very, very carefully to the song, sounds like an F suspended chord. And here's what we've got. We've got the D string on fret number 3, open on a G, B string fret number 1, top E string, fret number 1. Pretty much moving that shape down, and I'm including the open G with it. Next chord, I'm going to do this. I'm going to play a C like that. It's a C without the major third in it. So I'm losing, there's a C major chord. Way, way, way too sweet sounding for this. So I've got C, I'm muting out the D string. I've got the G, and I've got the B string on fret number 1. So those chords there would be and a lead guitar part. Okay, pretty straightforward. G on fret number 12, B on fret 11, B on fret 13, bend, take it back, 11, 13, 11. Okay, next lot of chords, G, D, F suspended, and C again. So we got G, next lot of chords, G, F suspended, C, lead guitar line, and then finally we've got G, D, F, C, and the intro chord G7 suspended. Okay, so if I play through that and then we run it through with the song itself, and we've got might be one chord in there which may be a little bit unfamiliar. I'll show you exactly what it is. I'm using a couple of different D chords. That works. That works. I also quite like this, a bit of an obscure shape, but we've got open D, G on fret number 2, B string fret number 3, and my little finger stretches up and does the A string on fret number 5. Yeah, a bit of a stretch. So that's one way of playing the D chord in with all that. I'll show you it just briefly in context. Okay, so there's part one of a two-parter. We'll cover the next part. We'll cover the middle 8 section in the next video. But for the moment, hope that kind of gets you close with the song, guys. Greg at G.H.Guitars. See you in the next video. Cheers, guys. Thank you.